Before dawn on the first day, Pakistani jet will roar across the border, aiming to cripple India's frontline air bases in Punjab, Rajasthan, and Jammu. Their missiles scream down onto radar stations, command hubs, and airfields, seeking to blind Indian defenses and soften the ground for what would come next. Pakistan will then deploy the main battle tank, the Khalid, along with several support vehicles. They will move from the Lahore-Sialkot corridor, Pakistan's elite armored division's thundered will, into Indian Punjab. Their immediate objective is clear: seize Amritsar and the surrounding districts before India could react. Holding Indian territory would give Pakistan powerful leverage in negotiations later, provided they could hold onto it. At the same time, across the rugged mountains of Kashmir, Pakistani special forces, irregular fighters, and seasoned infiltrators pushed across the line of control. Their mission was even more ambitious: sever the vital Jammu-Srinagar highway and isolate the Kashmir Valley from the rest of India. Farther south, Indian forces surged into Pakistan's Sindh province, racing towards Hyderabad and Karachi, hoping to draw Indian reserves away from the real action. Meanwhile, at sea, Pakistan's Navy knew it was badly outmatched against a massive Indian Navy submarine and carriers. Rather than risking a head-on battle, they sent their submarines into the dark waters of the Arabian Sea to lay deadly minefields near Mumbai and Gujarat's coastline. Their job was not to defeat India's navy, but to disrupt, delay, and force India to divert precious resources. Now let's look at how India Cold Start military doctrine works. It involves the various branches of India's military conducting offensive operations as part of a unified battle groups. Even as Pakistani tanks crossed the frontier, the Indian Air Force, much larger and more powerful than Pakistan's, was already executing its own battle plan. They had the cutting-edge Rafale fighters alongside the tried and tested MiG-21s and the formidable Sukhoi Su-30. Within minutes, these aircraft would meet Pakistan's advancing armored columns head-on, diving into the battlefield like hawks. Waves of fighter bombers, shielded by electronic jammers and escorted by interceptors, plunged deep into Pakistani airspace. Their targets were carefully chosen: air defense networks, radar stations, and key military hubs in cities like Lahore, Sargodha, and Multan. The mission was brutal in its clarity, paralyzed Pakistan's ability to command and control its forces, strip away its defenses, and leave its military exposed to the full fury of India's advancing war machine. As Indian jets shredded the skies above India's ground forces, the powerful strike corps began their thunderous advance toward the border. They brought with them the fearsome Russian-made T-90 tanks, India's own Arjun tanks, and an endless stream of armored vehicles that turned the earth beneath them into a trembling plain. Their tanks and mechanized infantry smashed through Pakistani defenses with cold, relentless precision. Within just 48 hours, Indian units were at the gates of Lahore. They bypassed strong points, choosing instead to encircle the city, cutting it off from reinforcement and supply. Every mile gained on Pakistani soil brought with it an ever-growing risk of escalation, but India's generals knew time was their enemy. They pressed forward, determined to achieve a decisive victory before the international community could impose a ceasefire. Farther south, Indian forces surged into Pakistan's Sindh province, racing towards Hyderabad and Karachi. Their objective was clear: to sever Pakistan's southern arteries, cutting off Karachi, the beating heart of Pakistan's economy, from the rest of the country. Meanwhile, in Kashmir, Indian forces fought with brutal determination to repel Pakistani infiltrators. Yet they avoided a deep counteroffensive across the line of control, wary that any major territorial gains could provoke Pakistan into crossing its nuclear threshold. At sea, India's navy moved with ruthless efficiency. Carrier battle groups steamed into position off the Pakistani coast, imposing a tight blockade around Karachi. BrahMos missiles rained down on Pakistan's port facilities and vital energy infrastructure. Even Gwadar, Pakistan's prized port built with immense Chinese investment, found itself under attack as Indian warships ruled the Arabian Sea with almost complete impunity. During the first furious week of war, both nations suffered grievous losses. The front lines were fluid, the battles fierce, but it quickly became clear that India's greater weight, its larger military, its deeper reserves, its greater industrial power, was beginning to tip the balance. Inside Pakistan's high command, as Lahore teetered on the edge of encirclement and Karachi faced strangulation, whispers of the darkest possibilities began to surface. Tactical nuclear weapons, the last terrible card in Pakistan's hand, loomed closer to reality. We make original 4K 3D animation with a small team of animators. So please support us by subscribing and dropping in a comment for more exclusive engineering animations made just for you guys.
So how much do you earn?
42 lakhs per annum.
42 lakhs. That is your salary.